Hello everybody, welcome to Coco's Crochet. I'm Litza and this is Coco. Welcome to tonight's video. It is our Ask Me Anything video. We've collated all of your questions and we have done our very best to answer them. We've put them all together for you and I will give you some information on, how many were Coco questions, how many were crochet questions, and how many were just live questions. So we are more than happy to be sitting here with you. We hope that you've got some crochet to do or some frogging to do. We've got some of our own frogging to do here. So come sit down. If you have a cup of coffee, grab it, or a cup of tea, or whatever your beverage of choice may be, depending on the time of day or night, of course. Coco does have a little bit of chicken, one of her favorite treats to enjoy while I sit here and chat to you and I frog away. And I'm so happy that so many of you contributed to this fun game so that we get an opportunity to get to know each other a little bit better. So woof woof from Coco. I'm just going to pop her down. I do have a little container of her chicken for her, so I'll put it on the floor for her. Excuse me for just a moment. There you go. And there's my good girl. There you go. Okay, she will enjoy that, that's for sure. So, like I said, welcome, welcome, welcome. What a great opportunity for us to do some frogging, for you to do the same or some crocheting, and for us to answer your questions. Now, there were 6 Coco related questions. There were 7 crochet related questions and 6 life related questions. So I thought I'd start what I think would be everybody's favorite, and of course that would be Coco related questions. But before I do that, I'll grab my first thing that I want to frog. So, excuse me, I have some water, so if I need some, I'll, have a little drink myself. So what I'll do is I'll pop on my glasses while I'm doing this so that I can actually read the questions, and that way I can get the right answers to you. So the very, very first one is a Coco question, and comes to us from Judy in Michigan. Hey Judy, thank you so much. And she asks, is Coco your only pet? Oh, well, let me say this to you. Coco is my one and only love. She is the only pet that my family, like my children and I, have ever had together. We adore her. She's actually one of the family. I'm sure that you've all gathered that by now. I can't thank my son enough, who over 13 years ago, he came to me on three occasions with 3 speeches because he really wanted a dog. And in particular, this dog was a friend of his at school. Her mum had said, we've got a few little doggies available. If any good families want them, let them know. And I was adamant, we don't have the time for a dog. I can't make that commitment. None of you are going to worry, to contribute. All the things that mums say when they've got younger children. But as I said, I thank my son all the time for persevering and getting 3 speeches out. He wasn't even 12 years old yet, and he gave us the best gift, because Coco has brought us so much joy and so much love into this family. So yes, Coco is our one and only pet, and we all adore her, but she's definitely more than just a pet to us. She's actually one of the family. So thank you so much for that question. So I'll put that to the side now. As you can see, I love to chat and I do very little frogging. So let me start pulling away at this while we're doing this, and then I'll ball it up. So the next question, some of the questions doubled up, or, a few people asked. So what I've done is I'll put the question and I'm going to tell you who's asked. So that way, I'm not answering the same question 3 or 4 times, which makes sense, right? So this is another Coco question, and it was asked by Sarah from Wee Crochet Corner, WEE, so Wee Little Tiny Crochet Corner, Sally Watts, and Terry Stokes. Thank you so much, all of you, for asking this question, and it is, what breed is Coco? Now, Coco is a Pomeranian. She may not look like the traditional fluffy Pomeranian. She certainly was at one stage, but as she's gotten older, it's been advised to us by her vet that it's best to keep her coat nice and short, because it assists with her, because she overheats, especially in the summer months and when it's humid, and she's got a little bit of a skin condition. I swear where the two of us are twins. Ugh, I could go on that one on another tangent. So to assist with that, we keep her coat nice and short throughout the year, but we keep her little Pomeranian line looking face. So she's definitely a Pomeranian, and it assists, like having the short coat has always assisted her with her health. So that's why we do that. So if you're all used to the big fluffy Pomeranians, she's one of them. She just looks a little bit different. So that's that question answered. I hope, you know, that was satisfactory. Now we have another Coco question. And this is asked by Bella from Bella's Crochet Gifts, Alley Cat, and Rebecca from Yarn and Pajamas. What's Coco's absolute favourite treat? Now, I see, like you guys see, Coco having a lot of her treats here. So, you know, you're probably all guessing chicken, apple, tomato, cucumber, and yes, they are all her favourite treats, but her very most favourite treat of all, her absolute favourite, and it's quite indulgent, so she doesn't get very much of it, is peanut butter. She absolutely loves peanut butter, so what I do is to trick her to take her tablets every night. I get a little ball of peanut butter and I roll her tablets in there and I pop it in her mouth, and she enjoys that. She just thinks she's getting another treat. So that works a treat, pardon the pun, and I get her meds into her and she enjoys her peanut butter. So yes, peanut butter, but absolutely has to be at a minimum amount, so she can't indulge in that one. So thank you so much for that question. Another Coco question, how exciting. And this one comes to us from Sam from Mantha's Makes, Bella from Bella's Crochet Gifts, Lisa S, and Terry Stokes and Sarah Nickel. They've asked, how old is Coco? Now, Coco's birthday is on the 5th of May 2009, which makes her 13 years and 8 months. I like to say 13 years and 8 months young, but she's 13 years and 8 months old. So that's that question answered. Wow, this is going really fast. This is a good one. I really need to start balling it up though. Oh, I should have got my yarn winder. That's okay. I can ball this one up. So that's another Coco question. Tick. We're nearly at the bottom of the pile for Coco questions. So this one comes to us from Rebecca from Yarn and Pajamas. Thank you, Rebecca. And she asked, what's Coco's favourite activity? Now I have a prop for this one. So Coco loves to play Piggy, which is a version of the game that a lot of dogs play, Fetch. So this is Piggy number 3, by the way. She is very clean. She's just a little bit, you know, played with for like too much. She gets washed all the time, and this is Coco's favourite and best friend. She does have other toys, but Piggy, since she was little, when she was actually smaller than Piggy, she was so little, Coco, she has always loved to play with her. So the game that we play when we play Where's Piggy is we call out, hey Coco, where's Piggy? So she runs off. Nowadays it's more of a little waddle. She's getting a little bit slower, you know, and she would run and she would pick Piggy up, and then she would bring her to us. We'd do a little wrestle, and then we would throw Piggy and she would go and fetch. And then the next part of the game that Coco invented, we didn't, she would run around the house, and she has multiple beds in all the different rooms and like the different areas, like, you know, the lounge room and that, we call it her lounge and things like that. And then she would find one and sit down, and then we'd have to tickle her and wrestle her a bit, get Piggy off her, throw Piggy again, and we'd start all over again. Where's Piggy? So that is her absolute favourite game, and she still plays that today, even though she is a little bit slower. So thank you for asking that question. It's brought back some really wonderful memories of when she was younger and she could actually bolt around the house. It was great. So that's that one. And lucky last question for Coco. Let me get my glasses on. This comes from Alley Cat. Does Coco spend time outside? Coco does like to go outside. We have a nice wraparound balcony, and she can sit out there sunning herself, getting all her vitamin D, and she loves to people watch and dog watch and bird watch and car watch. We have the park opposite, so she gets to see, you know, the children and listen to them playing. And she does like to bark at people walking past too, because let's be real, it is her house, her neighborhood. What are they thinking being there? But sometimes I think she's just saying hello as well. So yes, Coco does spend some time outside. Sometimes in the front when we're together. I don't like leaving her in the front alone because we have a grassed area and she does like to play there a little bit, but she's not a big fan. And the one thing that Coco doesn't do is go for walks. I told you we were like twins. We were so ready when she was old enough to go walking, because she had to be like vaccinated and, you know, past 8 weeks, 12 weeks old or something. I remember my son and I had bought her a harness and this, oh, I wish I could find it, this great t-shirt that said Bad Hair Day, and out we went. By the time we got to the end of the street, she was exhausted. She couldn't wait to come home. We had to pick her up, and she came home and she just lay next to her water bowl, had a little lick, and then just flaked out. She just had a little sleep after that. So we concluded that Coco isn't a walker, and we did ask our vet, and I said, oh, listen, you know, I know that dogs need to be walked. She said that she's so tiny that if she does a couple of laps of the house and the balcony every day, that's her exercise done. So I was very satisfied and happy to hear that, because there was no pressure on Coco and definitely no pressure on us then to make her walk. So that answers that question. So thank you so much everyone for asking all those great Coco questions. I hope that you are satisfied with the answers, and you know, if you have any more, I'm still happy to answer them, but I think that pretty covers it all. Now let's get on to crochet related questions. After all, we are here to crochet, right? Or frog, whatever you're doing tonight. So let me get my glasses on once again. So Sarah from Wee Tiny Crochet Corner asks, and this is a very good question. Well, they're all great questions, but you know, I had to think about this one because it's changed along the way, but in essence, it's been the same. Like, anyway, let me get to the answer. So I start off by saying, true story. During COVID lockdown, I had baked for my family and friends. So I was like Meals on Wheels, but with cookies, muffins, galettes, cinnamon buns, donuts, cupcakes, banana bread. I was constantly on YouTube and Pinterest getting recipes. I actually perfected my cookie recipe because I'd never made cookies before. I digress. So then the world started to open up again a little bit, and it was coming into the spring and summer here for us here in Australia. And I remember my family saying to me, they actually asked me to please stop baking because they wanted their bikini bodies back. So I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do now? I really need to find something to keep myself occupied, because all the things that we were doing previous to the lockdown had been taken away. So I needed to fill my time. So that's when I actually thought, well, I'm going to learn how to crochet because it's something that I always wanted to do. But I have to say that it's the best thing that's ever happened, because not only did I learn a craft that I wanted to learn for so long, which I can share with my family and friends. It brings me so much joy, you know, like all of us, when we create something, you know, crochet something for our family and friends, it gives us more joy than just keeping it, I believe. So that was the initial, you know, satisfaction from learning to crochet. And also, learning something new is always very rewarding. So it was a challenge that I'd given to myself. So, you know, that was along the way. But then I realized what was the most important gift from crochet. It was actually giving me that peace of mind. I was actually able to focus and be in that moment, something that most of us don't stop to do because we're all so very busy. There's so much chatter in our heads all the time. So without even realizing, I had actually given myself that gift, which is one of the kindest things you can do to yourself. So I was so happy to actually one day just go, oh my God, I've done that for myself, which was wonderful. And then an extension to that was that I could share then crochet with family and friends, in that we could sit together and do it. And an extension of that has now been you, meeting all of you, making all these new friends that I never thought that I would have, that were like-minded. So they're all the reasons why I started to crochet. It started off from something very different to where it's led me today. So thank you, crochet. You brought so much into my life. Next question, crochet related. I'm not getting very much frogging done, people. Can you tell? that's okay. I'll get it done eventually. I hope you all are. I hope you're getting some crochet in or some frogging. Please do some extra for me. So this comes from Kelly Jarrett, and she asks, how did you learn to crochet? Well, I learned to crochet from YouTube. I'm not sure how most of you did. A lot of you may have been taught by a family member or learnt from books, but I learnt from YouTube. What an amazing tool that we have, you know, at our disposal nowadays. I wasn't familiar with anyone on YouTube. I very rarely went on YouTube before that, but I did find, and I think I've said it before, I just found Bella Coco. She had a granny square tutorial, which is what I wanted to learn how to make, and I thought at the time she had a very kind voice. So I didn't even know what she was talking about. I didn't know about UK terms. I didn't know about US terms. I was just following what she was doing, and I learned it that way. But then I started to watch pretty much every tutorial that I could watch, and then from then I started to watch the content from these YouTubes as well. So to answer your question, I learned from YouTube. So, you know, a very long way around to get to that. So yeah, YouTube is an amazing tool for many reasons. It brings us together, but we also can learn so much. It's funny, we always say, if you want to learn anything, just go to YouTube. We don't even say Google it anymore. We just go to YouTube. So there's that answer for that one. Next crochet related question. So where are we there? So this one comes to us from Lisa at Lisa Knits, a fellow Aussie. She's from Melbourne, Victoria. Hey, Lisa. And Ali Cat, another yarny friend of ours. And they've asked, what yarn do I like using or is my favorite yarn? Now, I love experimenting with all yarn. I've, you know, especially lately that I've done a little, you know, refurb of my yarn room, you know, moved a few things around. I've been able to see what my collection really is like, and I must say that I do have a variety of yarns, but in saying that, the question is what's my favorite, and I'll tell you the reasons why I've chosen this yarn as my favorite. It's actually the Spot Saver USA style yarn, and I've got so much of it because it's the first yarn I learned how to crochet, and it has a soft spot in my heart. It is a yarn that is quite affordable, quite easy to access here. And you know, after watching so many yarn hauls from other people, I think it's very close to the Red Heart yarn. I think that's what it is. And sometimes I even see the colors that I've bought in million bags, and it looks like some of them, some of the colors that we don't generally have here, you know, on the shelves at Spotlight. So that's, I hope that answers your question, that my favorite yarn for those reasons is the Spot Saver. And it's also a nice thickness, and I really enjoy working with a 6mm hook, and they're best friends for me. The way that I crochet quite tightly works out beautifully. So that's that question. Tick, another one done. Another crochet question, and this time it's Bella from Bella's Crocheted Gifts, Sarah from Wee Crochet Corner, and Rebecca from Yarn and Pajamas. Hello, lovelies. I'll link all their channels down below, because if you haven't already done so, and I would be very surprised if you haven't, but if you haven't, please go and visit them. They're awesome. So they've all asked, what's my favorite crochet project? Now, my favorite crochet project has to be, and it always will be, my very, very first project. And it's the Granny Square blanket that I created. It took me about 3 months. It is huge. I have shown it before, so I won't open it all up now. And the reason is, firstly, it was my very first project. And secondly, I can say that every single person in my family, I think even Coco has snuggled under it, has enjoyed its warmth, its comfort, and for all those reasons. It may not be my most beautiful project, but in my mind it is, because it's my very first one. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you. Now, let me grab my frogging, because it's all my questions. Here we go. Now, next crochet related question, and this one comes from Sam at Manfors Makes. Again, if you haven't visited Sam, please go and do so. Amazing. Bella from Bella's Crocheted Gifts, and Lisa S. And they all ask, how long have I been crocheting? I've been crocheting now for just under 2 years. So let's just say 2 years. I didn't have it documented anywhere, but I can safely say about 2 years. So another crochet question, and this one comes from Simone. Hey Simone, how are you? Simone asks, how many hours on average do I crochet every day? So on average, when I'm at work, so it's like a work week, or like a weeknight, Monday to Friday, I generally try to get in, or I do get in about 2 hours every night before bed. So depending on what time, I've had my shower and make my cup of tea and hop into bed, it could be 3 hours, but at a minimum, I would say 2 hours every night. Now, on the weekend and holidays, that's a whole different matter. Depending on what, activities we have on, any commitments, family or friend commitments. If we don't have any, I've been known to crochet 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day. I will get as much crochet in as I can. So, generally though, Simone and everybody else, I can safely say that I would get out an absolute minimum 2 hours in every night. Now, I think this might be the last crochet question. Yes. So this one comes from Sally Watts, and Sally asks, what project have I never done and have always wanted to do? Now, this one was huge for me. It was very hard to actually pick just one, because there are quite a few, but one that stuck out in my mind, I think because recently I've watched quite a few YouTube creators making the Sophie's Universe, and I thought to myself, oh wow, it's popped back, it's come full circle. I hadn't seen it for a while. And what had stopped me from making it originally was when I went to have a look at it, I hadn't seen a tutorial. I don't know if they had any YouTube tutorials at the time. And I found the book, the pattern, and it's quite a thick book. And I thought, oh, wow, this would have been about a year ago. My experience is better now, like greater now. I've learnt so much more. Over then, it was very, like at the time, it was very intimidating. The pattern, I didn't really know how to read patterns. I am getting better, but I'm still not great, but so much better than then. And also the amount of money to spend for the yarn, for the one project that I wasn't sure about, put me off or stopped me from starting it. But it's something that I've always wanted to make. And as I said, it's back again. I'm seeing it all the time. And I'm seeing people using their scrap yarns for it as well. So they're not just going out to buy, X amount balls of yarn. Even if they do it, like you can do it in one color, for example, or multiple colors. And because I've been seeing it again, I thought, you know what, I'm going to choose Sophie's Universe. And I always think of my goddaughter when I think of Sophie's Universe. So maybe that's a gift that I could give to her. Anyway, let's see if I make it first. And if I do, I will certainly be sharing it with you. So thank you so much for that question. I really appreciate it. It made me really stop and think. So that's all our crochet questions. So now let's get on to our life questions. So let's pop those to the side. So the very first one comes from Shirley Spring, and Shirley asks, were you born in Australia? Yes, I am born in Australia. I'm first generation. My parents migrated here in the early 60s. But sometimes I do joke and I say that my ESL background comes out on occasion because I sometimes mix up my words. So apologies for that when it does happen, but it does happen. I know it does. So yes, I am born in Australia. Now this one comes from Sam from Manfors Makes, and she asks, how many siblings do I have? And there's another question. So there's two from Sam here. So Sam asks, how many siblings do I have? So I'm one of three daughters, one of three girls in my family. I'm the eldest. My middle sister is 3 years younger than me, and my younger sister is 13 years younger than me. So there is quite a bit of a gap there. And when she was younger, I was actually, like her second mum. So sometimes, up until just recently, not sometimes, many times, she would either ring me or text me for Mother's Day, and it was always very, very sweet. I know I didn't, I'm not her mum, but it was really nice because my parents were very, very busy, like most of our parents are. So I was able to help out in that respect, being the older sister. So that was always lovely. And then Sam from Manfors Makes also asks, how many children do I have? Now, I have 3 children, and you may have heard me speak about them, in other videos. So my daughter is 30 years old. My stepson is 29 years old, and my son is 25 years old. So I have 3 children. Thank you for asking. Now, this is a good one too. Very hard to answer, but I did. So Ali Cat asks, what's my favorite Aussie food? Oh, I had to think about it, but I am a sweet tooth. I do have a sweet tooth. So I went with the lamingtons. Now, let me describe a lamington to you the way Google does. It is a butter cake or sponge cake cut into squares, coated in an outer layer of chocolate sauce, rolled in desiccated coconut. And that's exactly what it is. It's a nice little cake. And the reason why I love it, it's not too rich. It's readily available. You can get it in little squares like this. That's how I make it when I make it at home, or you can get it in finger sizes. Sometimes there's jam in the middle. I prefer it plain myself, and I love them with a cup of coffee. And I haven't come across a person yet who doesn't like a lamington unless they don't eat coconut. So they're the only ones that say, that's okay, thank you very much. So that's my favorite Aussie food. But I have to say, a savory choice would have been Vegemite. I know some of you have issues with Vegemite, but let me tell you, it is delightful, okay? So what's my next life question? Rebecca from Yarn and Pajamas asks, what's my favorite things to do in Sydney? There are so many things that we do, which everybody really does pretty much all around the world, including, going to the movies or to the theatre, to dinner. But I do enjoy going, for example, to Darling Harbour to have dinner and, have a nice walk around later because all the lights, and there's always something happening down there. There's, like buskers, street performances and things like that. And that sort of leads you then to Circular Quay, or the other way you can go to Barangaroo. So I really, really do enjoy a nice night out when we go to Darling Harbour. There's always great parking and there's always something happening. Or something that's a bit quieter and closer to home. We enjoy going of an evening to the local beaches and we just stroll along while we have an ice cream and a chat. When the children were younger, we used to leave them on the sand with some beach towels and, they'd make sand castles and bury each other in the sand and, have a good time while, we sat and watched them and, just the beach is lovely. It's very tranquil, it's calming. And also, hand in hand, there's a lot of people around too. So it's nice in that respect too. So they're the, 2 things that I really enjoy doing, and we do them often. Some of you may be wondering, because it is a touristy thing. No, I've never climbed the harbour bridge, even though both my children, my son and my daughter, worked there a few years ago, because I'm terrified of heights. So if you were wondering that, no, I haven't done that. Because a lot of people do, associate that with Sydney when they come here to visit. So I thought I'd pop that in there. I might get Coco if that's okay, because she's not feeling 100%. Let me just give her a little cuddle while we continue with the questions. Excuse me. Thank you so much for that. Here she is, our beautiful girl. Now, next live question. Someone asked, is there an upcoming grandbaby and will it be the first one? I am hoping for grandchildren soon in the future. I'd love to be a grandmother. I can't wait. Some of my friends already are, and I know how happy they are. But nothing on the cards at the moment, but maybe in the next couple of years that would be awesome. And then I have our lucky last question, and I've written this down. And sorry, did I say that the upcoming grandbaby question was from To Crochet Curious? So thank you for that one. Now, this is the last question, and I have some stats on this because Shirley Spring asked, have I ever traveled to other countries? Now, I have. I haven't traveled extensively, but I have, and I'll tell you when and where. So, the Christmas and the New Year period in 1981 to 1982, some of you may not have been even born then, but I certainly was. My parents sent me to Greece to visit my grandparents. I had met my grandparents. They lived here for 11 years. So that was for 3 weeks. But then there was a 3-week extension to the tour, which the Greek church here and the Greek government had organised to have children like myself who were born in Australia and had never visited Greece have the opportunity to do a tour. And there were 63 youths from all around Australia, and we were taken to so many amazing places that we saw. And I have made lifelong friends from that. So that was actually a wonderful experience. Even though at the time I didn't want to go originally, being 16, and silly, but I'm very grateful and thankful that my parents sent me. I still keep in touch with many of the young people that I went away with. We're all grown adults now, obviously. I got to travel interstate to visit them as well at different times, which was wonderful. And my one and only goddaughter is her mum. I met her on the trip and we remain lifelong friends. So that's the first time I ever travelled out of Australia. And then in 1989, I went on my first honeymoon to Hawaii. Yes, I know that is so cliche, right? But hey, it was Hawaii. It was amazing. I believe we stayed at one of the outriggers. It might have been, I keep trying to remember, Seaside, something like that. I remember going to a Denny's, which I thought was exciting because they're all the things we hear about. But unfortunately, we didn't stay long enough for us to do much more than, I think, is it Honolulu where, the main area is. So we didn't really see anything else, but I have heard wonderful things about Hawaii. My son's fiance went with her family a couple of years ago and they were telling us so many amazing stories. But I have to say, while we're in America, I would love to go to Vegas. I think that's a girls' trip. We'll see. Anyway, now then after that, it was the year after, in 1990, I travelled to New Zealand. We went to Auckland, and I remember going to Rotorua as well. All I remember, because it was so long ago, was just so green, New Zealand. It was beautiful. Everyone was very friendly. Rotorua was a little bit smelly, but that's the nature of the area, as in like the bubbling grounds, the mud and the sulphur. But that was an experience in itself. So that's when I next travelled. And then I didn't travel again, and this is the last time I've been overseas as well, in 2008. So my daughter was part of a dance group, and they did what a lot of dance groups do. They toured overseas. Their destination was going to be to dance in Disneyland in Paris, but our first stop was in London. And I've got here OMG, like definitely, oh my God, we decided, pretty much all of us, that we could quite easily move to live in London. And these were the reasons. First of all, we were amazed that we saw 4 musical theatre shows in 5 nights. Australia, like Sydney, is getting a lot better now at bringing more shows, like more than one show every couple of years. At the time it used to be. But at the time, it was mind-blowing how many shows you could actually watch in just such a short period of time. We always remember and reminisce, and it didn't put us off, Wet Wednesday. It was a hop-on, hop-off bus tour, and we did all of, London, which is a great way, obviously, to see any city. But we were wearing jeans, and we actually had gone in the summertime then. It was, I think the max was 24 degrees Celsius, and it was so wet that our jeans that we were wearing were wet up to our knees, but that did not put us off. And then we went for a pub meal, and we all had fish and chips, and we thought it was hilarious that fish and chips came with peas. So that was another fun experience when we were in London. And what else? Oh my goodness. And then we went, of course, to Buckingham Palace, and we went to do the tour of Windsor Castle and Kensington Castle. And we actually stayed in the suburb Kensington. I remember that. Oh, and of course we did, like, we were amazed. We did like a river cruise thing, and, Big Ben, working out that it wasn't the clock, that it was the bell. Then a lot of us did a very scary Jack the Ripper tour. I don't like scary things, so that was, another thing that we did, so it stuck in my mind. So that was the London part of our, trip. And then we got to Paris, and let's be real, we were in awe of the Eiffel Tower. Could not believe how huge it is. I kind of related it to the Harbour Bridge, nowhere near it. I still remember it didn't matter where we were at night, we could see it, and I think it was blue at the time, how it lights up of an evening. And the very first thing that we did, the coach took us to the Eiffel Tower. We had cheese and baguettes ready. They were part of the tour, and we sat on the grass with the children, and we just sat there and were in awe of where we were. So that was an amazing experience. Didn't get to go up in the restaurant or anything like that, but it was amazing, that experience. And then, of course, we went to Euro Disney, where my daughter and all her friends, her dance troupe, performed. That was amazing at the time. We spent the whole day there. That was tiring, but still, part of the experience and the journey, which was wonderful. And then I remember we went to the Moulin Rouge. Well, that was next level experience. The atmosphere, if anyone hasn't been, it was like you were stepping back in time. So that really left an impression on me. And only just recently, Moulin Rouge was playing here in Sydney, and we went to see it with my family. And it was an awesome experience. And I was relating it back to that memory that I had made then. So that was wonderful. And I remember we stayed at the Pullman Hotel, I believe. I was trying to work out in my head where it was. And what we remember about that place is that we were all saying, oh my goodness, these pillows are like marshmallows. Isn't it funny what sticks in your head, And, and the food. Well, the food, was great. We all know that. But the one thing that we overindulged in was Nutella crepes. Let me tell you, we just had way too many of those. So we did have a little stopover in Bangkok, but that doesn't really count because I didn't see the place. All we did was have a sleepover and got to about 2 hours free time to go to the market. So it wasn't really a huge experience, but hey, I did experience Bangkok as well. So that's pretty much it for Ask Me Anything. I hope that you've all enjoyed it. It's one of our longest videos yet, but I was really happy, to come on and answer your questions, and we really appreciate every single one of you for watching, every single one of you for asking, and Coco and I couldn't be happier that we're all friends and we can do this together. So Coco's getting a little bit restless, and that's okay. She's been such a good girl. I love her so much. And thank you for all the love you show, Coco. It doesn't get unnoticed. We talk about it all the time. And I know this is a crochet channel, but we are a family, and she is one of the family. So thank you, everybody. Take care, everyone. Continue with your crocheting and your frogging. I will clean up my little mess here, and I shall see you all, we shall see you all again in another video. Bye-bye, everybody.